Recession is when a neighbor loses his job. Depression is when you lose yours. Of the 4 wars in my lifetime, none came about because the US was too strong. Unemployment insurance is a prepaid vacation for freeloaders. Each generation goes further than the generation preceding it because it stands on the shoulders of that generation. You will have opportunities beyond anything we've ever known. One picture is worth 1,000 denials. Freedom prospers when religion is vibrant and the rule of law under God is acknowledged. But there are advantages to being elected president. The day after I was elected, I had my high school grades classified top secret. I am not worried about the deficit. It is big enough to take care of itself. A tree's a tree. How many more do you need to look at? They say the world has become too complex for simple answers. They are wrong. All the waste in a year from a nuclear power plant can be stored under a desk. No matter what time it is, wake me, even if it's in the middle of a cabinet meeting. We will always remember. We will always be proud. We will always be prepared, so we will always be free. My philosophy of life is that if we make up our mind what we are going to make of our lives, then work hard toward that goal, we never lose, somehow we win out. Politics I suppose to be the second oldest profession. I have come to realize that it bears a very close resemblance to the first. While I take inspiration from the past, like most Americans, I live for the future. I favor the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and it must be enforced at gunpoint if necessary. Let us not forget who we are. Drug abuse is a repudiation of everything America is. Let us ask ourselves, what kind of people do we think we are? And let us answer, free people, worthy of freedom and determined not only to remain so but to help others gain their freedom as well. Protecting the rights of even the least individual among us is basically the only excuse the government has for even existing. People do not make wars, governments do. The taxpayer? That's someone who works for the federal government but doesn't have to take the civil service examination. For the sake of peace and justice, let us move toward a world in which all people are at last free to determine their own destiny. If the federal government had been around when the Creator was putting his hand to this state, Indiana wouldn't be here. It'd still be waiting for an environmental impact statement. To paraphrase Winston Churchill, I did not take the oath I have just taken with the intention of presiding over the dissolution of the world's strongest economy. I've never been able to understand why a Republican contributor is a fat cat and a Democratic contributor of the same amount of money is a public-spirited philanthropist. Welfare's purpose should be to eliminate, as far as possible, the need for its own existence. We cannot play innocents abroad in a world that is not innocent. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. No mother would ever willingly sacrifice her sons for territorial gain, for economic advantage, for ideology. We have the duty to protect the life of an unborn child. If the Soviet Union let another political party come into existence, they would still be a one-party state, because everybody would join the other party. Optimism comes less easily today, not because democracy is less vigorous, but because democracy's enemies have refined their instruments of repression. Entrepreneurs and their small enterprises are responsible for almost all the economic growth in the United States. We might come closer to balancing the budget if all of us lived closer to the commandments and the golden rule. The totalitarian world produces backwardness because it does such violence to the spirit, thwarting the human impulse to create, to enjoy, to worship. One way to make sure crime doesn't pay would be to let the government run it. Politics is not a bad profession. If you succeed, there are many rewards. If you disgrace yourself, you can always write a book. We don't hide our space program. We don't keep secrets and cover things up. We do it all up front and in public. That's the way freedom is, and we wouldn't change it for a minute. Thomas Jefferson once said, "We should never judge a president by his age, only by his works." And ever since he told me that, I stopped worrying. Regimes planted by bayonets do not take root. Governments tend not to solve problems, only to rearrange them. Violence has been Nicaragua's most important export to the world. Politics is just like show business. You have a hell of an opening, coast for a while, and then have a hell of a close. Let us be shy no longer. Let us go to our strength. Let us offer hope. Let us tell the world that a new age is not only possible but probable. Government always finds a need for whatever money it gets. Going to college offered me the chance to play football for 4 more years. Yes, across Europe, this wall will fall. For it cannot withstand faith. It cannot withstand truth. The wall cannot withstand freedom. You are Mrs. Reagan because Mr. Reagan loves you with all his heart. Today, if you invent a better mousetrap, the government comes along with a better mouse. Mad or glad, Mr. Reagan is head over heels in love with Mrs. Reagan and can't even imagine a world without her. He loves her. It's difficult to believe that people are still starving in this country because food isn't available. The greatest security for Israel is to create new Egypts. The thought of being president frightens me and I do not think I want the job. We're in greater danger today than we were the day after Pearl Harbor. Our military is absolutely incapable of defending this country. The British people know that, given strong leadership, time, and a little bit of hope, the forces of good ultimately rally and triumph over evil.